Alright, so Riot didn't release the detailed patch preview that I usually look at, but there's a lot of numbers on PB, which are probably what the numbers are actually going to be on the new patch. So Camille is going to get Q speed decreased and R flat damage on hit decreased by 5. Actually, no, by 5, no, by 15 actually. Wait, no, 15 rank 1, 25 rank 3, okay. I mean, this is a fine nerf. One of the things that I definitely think Riot completely overdid and why Camille is the best top player in the game right now is simply they just made the Q move speed way too much. Like when Camille right now Qs with Triforce, like with Trinity Force, she just gets like absurd amount of move speed. She just like out spaces and sticks onto champions way too easily. Draven will get passive gold 10 to 25. See other changes here. What? Oh, passive stacks on loss on death to 50%. Wait. Less updated. Okay. Alright. They're slightly reverting the passive nerf to Draven passive that they did, where Draven lost like 8% win rate or whatever over the patch. Fine. Gnar 80 growth, 3.0 to 3.2, mini Q attack damage scaling also 10% up. They're giving late game buffs to Gnar, which are more low elo skewed, to not buff competitive Gnar as much, I guess. Honestly, I kind of wish Gnar would get a rework, but then again, I wish that for a lot of champions in League. Yeah, I mean, okay, whatever. Small Gnar buffs. Gnar, I feel like Gnar has gotten buffed like 10 times in a row the last 3 years, and he's still not played. It's mind-blowing. Aurelia, health growth down by 9. Yeah, low elo scaling nerf for Aurelia. Not much to say. She's gonna be a bit squishier, sure. Jinx 80 growth down by 0.2 or 0.15 or whatever. Okay. That's gonna affect Jinx for sure. Didn't they already do this once? I swear, like, let me check. I swear they already did this once. They did the exact nerf once, I swear. Let me actually find it. Yeah, look at this. No, wait, this is here. Attack growth reduced from 3.4 to 3.15. They did this nerf already once. Riot. Karthus Q-based damage down by 2 rank 1 and by 6 late game. It obviously looks like it's not a lot, but remember this is amplified when someone is isolated, and this is an ability he perma spam, so it's actually a lot of damage here. This is deserved, but I'm afraid they probably will still need to nerf Karthus. I think this is probably not enough. Kha'Zix Q base damage down by 10. Up by 10. Again, this is even bigger when a champ is isolated. I remember they used to. I always talk about this, but I remember every time Riot changes Kha'Zix Q damage, the champ becomes OP, and then they nerf Kha'Zix Q damage, and the champ becomes useless. This is like a constant pattern, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kha'Zix just immediately becomes way too good with this change. 10 damage on this ability is like absolutely insane. Mordekaiser, passive damage will be, instead of linear, will be 5 at all levels. So okay, this is a passive damage decrease. Q will go up in damage by a lot. What? By level 5 to 139? Level 18? Breakpoints 1 to 18? 0 to 45 breakpoints. Okay, I don't know what I'm reading here. What? So Mordekaiser Q scales worse early, better late, or what? I don't know. AP scaling the same. Isolation is stronger. Okay, so it hits harder if someone is isolated. I don't really know. I suppose these are just nerfs to Mordekaiser. He's obviously very, very good in low elo right now. Because of the new Lianji having better build path. A lot of other champions got nerfed, and Mordekaiser also can't Q assess his ult anymore. It's Q nerf late game. Okay. Oh, extreme nerf late game. Moderate nerf early, moderate buff mid. Oh, wait, what? So it's a buff in mid game and a nerf in late and nerf in early. Okay. So this is one of the changes that I'm really... Okay, so this is one of the changes that I really had to flame Riot for. I think this is horrible. Let me explain why. So first of all, they're buffing Nasus. Nasus lost win rate because Ghost got nerfed, pretty much. Right, Ghost got nerfed. Nasus is a very Ghost reliant champion. Okay, makes sense. So they're giving him 80 growth here by 0.5. This is totally fine. Nasus is a champ that obviously buys some AD items like Trinity Force, but he also likes to buy a lot of tank items. So obviously this is fine. But this is something I don't understand. Okay, so E armor shot going up by 5% is fine because Nasus does not max E. He usually maxes E last unless you support Nasus, right? So this is a slight buff to support Nasus, but it's mainly like a buff to top the Nasus or whatever, right? So okay, this is fine. But one thing I really don't understand is this. E costs 70 to 130 to 60 to 100. Why? Why? We all know that Nasus has a very degenerate gameplay with Doran's Ring Emax that a lot of people do, like either AP Nasus or support Nasus or top lane Nasus with E-spam. Emax Nasus is such a toxic playstyle. Like, why? Why are we doing this? This ability is gated by mana, which is a good thing. Why? I mean, this is obviously a massive buff to Nasus support, by the way. These two lines are massive buffs to Nasus support. This is whatever for Nasus support. But, yeah, I don't know. I really think this is a terrible idea. This is seriously a terrible idea. We should not be promoting Emax lane Nasus playstyle. I hate it. Singe QAP scaling goes up by a little bit, which is a massive buff for an ability that constantly ticks to people, and is his main damage source. R cooldown down by 20. So basically they're buffing Singe because Singe lost win rate because of Ghost nerf and because of Shrelia nerf, pretty much, right? Yeah, okay. Small Singe buffs. They're okay. Singe is just, I feel like Singe is like one of those champions that's just not very popular and is only played by OTPs usually. And OTPs are very good at making this champion work, but the average player is just so bad at making Singe work. Talia, Q base damage, down by 4 and down by late by 2. Okay, so this is kind of weird because if you go back in history, let me show you. If you go back to history, Riot has recently buffed Talia Q damage. In early game specifically. Let me just showcase that really fast because I remember this. It was right here. Base damage on Q got increased from 60 to 132 to from 50 to 130 to 60 to 132, right? So 50 to 130 was the old value. Now it's going to be 56 to 130. So basically, early game is still buffed compared to the old value, but late game is now the same. So this makes Talia slightly worse in lane until she reaches pretty much level 9, where she's kind of identical. But remember, her Q hits multiple times, so this nerf might be a bit bigger than you might think. Yeah, nerfs her early laning trading, nerfs her wave clear. Talia has extremely high win rates in solo queue, patch after patch after patch, so they're trying to like nerf her because of that. She also has some appropriate presence, to be fair. Okay, fair enough. Item static show. Okay, let's talk about static show. This is absolutely insane. This is absolutely insane, guys. There's never been an item that got buffed this much, I think. In recent history, I can't remember. 100 gold down. Item build path is arguably whatever. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a buff or a nerf. AD up, attack speed off, a new stat, move speed, 7%, which is very big. Lightning from minions damage, 90 to 120. Okay, they just made this item be probably back. Who is going to buy this? I'm thinking Vayne Top will really like this, honestly. Vayne Top will really like this. Obviously, something like AD LeBlanc would really like this, but I'm not sure if AD LeBlanc is going to come back. TF Toplane is probably going to like this. I don't know. I find this very questionable. I find it very questionable that Riot is just bringing back an item for champions like Queen, Vayne, and TF Toplane. I'm really worried about this, honestly. I'm really worried about this. This item will be very good, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just worried about this, really. So then we have some runes changes. Absorb Life is going to be a late game buff. Okay, so I did say that the rune does not need a buff. But I did say that if they want to buff this rune, it should be late game. This rune should not get an early game buff, so I'm happy. They're going through late game buff at least in that case, so they didn't fail here. Okay, sure. And then Cut Down is going to get 50% threshold instead of 60% threshold. Very, very big buff to Cut Down. Cut Down is a very good rune on long-range poke mages or long-range poke champions or potentially ADCs too, technically. Basically champions with range that don't go really for execution damage but rather go for a lot of poke damage. And then we have here changes from previous days. So let me see what I missed. I think it's right here. Yeah, so we have, okay. So we have a massive Caitlyn nerf. So, okay. Caitlyn will get higher attack speed, scaling, basically. So attack speed items and attack speed runes and everything attack speed related will not be as bad as on her anymore. So she's gonna be less of a sniper and more of like a fast sniper, I guess, whatever. Faster sniper, shooting. But W headshot extra base AD scaling is gonna be godded. So this maybe makes it so Caitlyn will want to max E second. Our base AD scaling will also be down by 20%. And the same goes for, I guess, critical chance multiplier, whatever the hell this is. So, okay, why is this happening, guys? This is happening because Caitlyn constantly has this build that people are doing, which is lethality Caitlyn stacking raw AD, not building any AD. Riot does not want that. Riot wants Caitlyn to be a crit champion, which makes sense. On top of that, you have to understand something. Low elo players, aka average player base of League of Legends, are very bad at itemizing and building. And they oftentimes build a lot of attack speed items on Caitlyn, even though attack speed items are horrible because of this ratio being bad. Now it's gonna be less bad. So basically, they're basically fixing a problem because people don't know how to itemize on Caitlyn for average player base. Camille, we talked about this. Javen, we talked about this. Gangplank, I kinda talked about this already, but basically, this is not enough to make Gangplank good. It's sure a step into the right direction, but honestly, Gangplank needs way bigger changes. Like, Gangplank right now probably just needs barrel CD reduced, because he no longer builds Lavori. He lost a lot of haste in the build. We just gotta bring down the barrel cooldown ammo. Now we talked about this. Then we have Hui changes. I haven't talked about this yet. So they're nerfing QQ and QE. QQ is an ability that Riot has constantly buffed over many patches because the designer of Hui kept thinking the ability is underwhelmed. So this makes it so the ability is slightly worse, especially into HP stackers, but yeah, whatever. And then QE damage per AP scaling will go down by 5%, which is fucking sad. Because QE IMO is the ability that high elo players on Hui will use way more than average Hui players. So IMO, these Hui nerfs, IMO are more affected for high elo players, obviously, because this is the only range that Hui is good at anyway. I don't know. I really don't think the champ deserves a nerf, but I know Freak is convinced the champ is OP, so... Freak has some bias against Hui. Can't help it. It is what it is. I'm probably gonna stop playing Hui, by the way. Maybe not next patch, but I think once Riot nerfs First Strike, I truly believe this champion will be that. I truly do believe so. So I think I'm very close to the point where I'm gonna stop playing this champ. Aurelia, Health Growth talked about this, Jinx talked about this, Kartus talked, Kha'Zix as well. So okay, we have K'Sante. Oh god. Okay, so we know K'Sante is gonna get a rework. We know that. A mini rework again, they're gonna try to like move around his numbers. I could go more into detail. I saw what Freak said about K'Sante. He was saying that like they had the wrong approach and they should be fine with K'Sante having low win rate and low elo and they should just balance him around pro, which by the way I think is going to be a horrible decision long term and I think it's going to be so fucking unbalanceable in high elo, which he already is, but okay. So these changes are straight up nerfs. I fully expect K'Sante to lose a lot of win rate everywhere. I think Riot is gonna immediately either micro patch him or immediately overbuff him next patch. I truly believe this is what's gonna happen here. Maybe they're gonna keep him weak intentionally, but let's read the changes. So Q mana cost is gonna go down. So okay, so he's gonna be able to... This is basically an early game laning buff mostly. K'Sante past early game does not really have mana issues. So okay, early game laning buff, he's gonna be able to spam Q much more. Okay, sure. Laning phase right now is definitely the weakest point of K'Sante. W max charge time being reduced by half a second IMO is a big nerf, especially in high elo, because high elo players will often be able to abuse this mechanic really well when there's a spell, when they're taking damage, and they're going to be able to hold it very long amount. So this is definitely a nerf. And then damage reduction is going to be 30% at all ranks and 60% at all ranks in ult form. Bro, this is such a big nerf. Like, this is such a big nerf. This is such a big nerf for pro play and high elo K'Sante. Even in low elo, I just think this change alone here is going to massively nerf the champion. Now when you play against K'Sante, you will want to hit him when he's charging W, because he's gonna actually not be taking so little damage anymore. And then, okay, sure, they're giving him a buff here, R damage ramp, but honestly, I don't think this line here and this line here is bigger buffs than these lines here. I truly believe Cassandra will lose a lot of win rate. I truly believe that. We'll see next patch, and I really think Riot is gonna either have to really buff him again or keep him weak until a Reaver comes. I mean, obviously I'm happy Cassandra's getting nerfed, right? This is like such a balancing nightmare of a champion. Lulu. I was not initially very happy when I saw this change. Adding more knock-up duration on Lulu, I thought was a very, very dumb decision. I would never put a buff into this into the game. I really think this is just very, very weird that we're buffing CC when League of Legends is already suffering with the amount of CC we have in this video game. Sure, it's not a big buff. It's probably not going to be that noticeable, but I'm very questionable about this decision. And then R cooldown buff, this is fine, I think. This is fair. I think the R cooldown buff on Lulu is totally fair. She should probably be ult spammy a lot, because she should be like early game focused as a champion IMO. She shouldn't be that good late game IMO. Lulu's identity should be more early mid game. And yeah, it's a buff to mid lane Lulu too. These are also buffs to mid lane Lulu. Mid lane Lulu is not too bad, honestly. Underrated champion on mid lane. Mastery getting generic scaling buffs because his win rate is that after default tempo removal and E damage nerf. More scaling buffs, basically. With jungle XP buffs, these are actually pretty decent buffs to Mastery. Just more health, AD, more armor, more attack speed. Not bad. Just damage, durability, everything up. Mordekaiser, okay. Then we have Nami. Again, this is another one where I wasn't really... Like, I really didn't like what Riot is doing here. So, base AD being up is fine. This is not a big buff because, well, Nami is probably not going to be played in soul lane. Sure, she auto-attacks in melee matchups, sure, but then again, I think that's fine because Nami auto-attacking something means that Nami player is usually, having more skill as a player. This is, I would say, fine. W mana cost being down is a bit questionable because, her W is already such a strong ability. We know how it is playing against Nami where she perma-sustains the ADC's HP pull-up. So giving 20 less mana on the ability she maxes first is very questionable. I mean, this is a huge buff, IMO. This is such a huge buff. And then this one I really didn't like either because they're buffing R slow to 70% all ranks, but I don't like this because this makes it so Nami has even an easier time doing the R into Q combo, which I think just benefits a lot of Nami players. So yeah, I don't like these two lines. I like this line. I don't know. Yeah. Nasus, Ornn. So basically the TLDR here is that Ornn is gonna get bunch of new item upgrades, which is very good for the champion. I'm really happy Riot is doing this. This is fantastic by them. This should have happened a long time ago, but okay, better late than never. Yeah, basically... Ornn is gonna be able to upgrade most of legendary items as far as I understood. So basically when you play with Ornn, you have to put the item on first of your inventory slot. So this is the item he will upgrade. The item you want to upgrade. Now I don't know exactly which item would be mathematically the best to upgrade or whatever, but yeah. So then we have Pantheon. I kinda already commented on this again. This change right here is to buff Little Timmy in bronze playing AP Pantheon, doesn't matter. This change right here is kind of questionable. It's gonna do less damage. Pantheon nobles will do less damage versus squishes, more versus HP users, which I guess makes Pantheon more of a tank killer. And then E, I really like this change. I really think this is a fantastic change. He's gonna get resist now, so he's more incentivized to use E early into the fight instead of holding it. It's a decent Pantheon change. I like that the Riot is trying to make Pantheon be more of a bruiser and less of an assassin. Singe, okay. Smolder, okay, so we have some Smolder changes. So this is very clever, okay. They're buffing base AD of Smolder by 3. The reason for that is, I'm pretty sure the reason for that is because Smolder's best item is Trinity Force. When you buff base AD, you're buffing Sheen. So this further buffs his best build, which is Trinity Force. Smaller players are just dumb and they're buying Essence River a lot when Essence River is not as good as Trinity Force right now. Q cost is going to go down, so this is a nice laning phase buff past level 3, I guess, or level 4. And then they're buffing Q, magic, and physical damage will have a better crit scaling. So they're still trying to make it so Smolder builds crit. Again, I'm not really sure how Smolder is supposed to itemize past first item. I understand Trinity Force is probably just by far the best item, but I don't get what Smolder is supposed to be buying past Trinity Force. Now, one of the things about Smolder is that he does have mana issues. So usually when you go Triforce build, you either want sorcery or you want some sort of mana runes, and you probably usually also want tier, right? A lot of times people buy mana moon second. Now, Q being buffed here as his most spammable ability might mean that he might be able to only buy Trinity Force and not need tier, maybe with a different rune page. I'm not sure. It could mean that. Talia, we talked about this. Brutalizer tooltip bug. Yeah, Brutalizer didn't have tooltip that it gave 5 lethality. But it did give you lethality, it just wasn't in the tooltip. Collector is losing 3 lethality. Again, with Infinity Edge also being nerfed, I'm questioning what the best item is going to be for a lot of ADC champions. Like, let's say like Tristana, Aphelios. Because right now, a lot of ADC champions are either rushing Collector and lethality. But right now, both items are going to be nerfed. While Essence Silver is getting another buff. So honestly, Essence Silver is slowly becoming in a state where the item is actually good once you complete it. But the build path is still atrocious, okay? So, yeah, I still think maybe it's going to be more worth rushing Infinity over Collector with a nerf like this, but okay. So again, for Essence River, I do have to say that I think Riot is continuously failing the item. They just need to make a better build path. Like seriously, I can't express it enough. It needs to have pickaxe in the build path. It should not have BF or maybe Cloak of Agility should just be removed. Like, it has the worst build path in the game. The item is so bad to build. Once you complete it, it's fine. But yeah. Immortal Shield Bow, I hate it. I hate it. Sure, they're buffing the shield. 720 shield at level 18. Sounds a lot. It's probably not a lot, to be honest, because there's a lot of damage in League of Legends right now, with AD items being so passive in late game. But what the fuck is this change? Shield Bow should get either lifesteal or attack speed or bigger AD. Come on, this item needs more stats, man. It needs more stats. Like, how do you expect players to buy this item only for the shield, man? It's not gonna happen. It's really not gonna happen. Item needs some stats. This is really just pathetic. Infinity Edge, they went for a nerf that they went for a change that I really don't like, which is bonus crit damage being decreased. I don't know. I just wish they would remove. They would reduce the AD on the item, so the item would also be worse to rush. Because IMO, Infinity Edge as an identity should not be like Infinity Edge should not be a rush item. I don't like this. Infinity Edge should not be an item that people should be rushing as first item. And when you're making a change like this, you're not really fixing that problem. IMO removing 10 base AD would make it so item would even be worse to rush, right? Serrated Dirk is no longer going to be stackable. There's a new build that happened this patch where people are just stacking Serrated Dirks, and I'm really glad Riot is immediately recognizing this needs to be fixed. This is good. Static Shield, we talked about this. Runes, we talked about this. And then we have systems. So yeah, they're making towers on top lane take 75% damage reduction instead of 50% to nerf lane swaps. I don't think Riot is completely understanding why lane swaps happen in pro play. The reason why lane swaps happen in pro play is not because it's to avoid a bad matchup and get passed through first for early levels. It doesn't really matter if you lose a couple of plates bot lane, as plates only give you like 300, 400 gold. Because you would be furthermore behind if you were laning that 2v2 bot lane matchup. So honestly, I don't think lane swaps are gone, because this change to me makes really no sense. They should... I think they should approach it differently. They should probably make it so you get less XP from top lane minions if you share them, unless you have a jungle item. This way jungle and top don't get nerfed. They should probably maybe change the turret fortification to be 6 minutes instead of 5 minutes. There's a lot of other changes that I think could nerf lane swapping in pro a little bit better than this. ARAM, homestead, speed, duration, okay. Auction, these are ARAM changes. And yeah, that's the patch. Again, I have the same opinion about the patch that I had before, which is that I think Riot is too lazy with the changes. I think they're not addressing too many, like, the OP things enough. Like, for example, Camille nerf wasn't even planned. They put this in the patch now. They weren't even gonna need to plan. They weren't even planning to nerf Camille. They're not nerfing stuff like Grops. They're not nerfing Auction mid. They're not nerfing TF mid. They're not nerfing like a lot of OP shit on other roles. And they're also like nerfing Hui, which I don't think like this champion should be nerfed. I don't know. There's just a lot of randomness. I think they're just being lazy. They're not nerfing Ravenous Hydra. They're not nerfing a lot of OP items. It's weird. Yeah, that's my patch review.